All right, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us for the first Turn and Burn podcast. So please bear with us as we try to work our way through this. My name is Jason. I'm the creator, designer, and builder of the Rotoboss Rotaries, and I am here with Chris Licasio. How you doing, Chris?
What's up, Jay? How are you? How's everything going?
Not much, man. Living the dream. Little nervous about getting this thing going. We'll see how it does. But so if you want to introduce yourself and let everybody know that may not know who you are. Um,
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So I'm Chris Licasio. I started House of Lasers a long time ago. Actually, pretty funny thing that I saw Jason's post today that he got his first laser 7 years ago, which is pretty interesting because it was just before that where I got mine. But yeah, started House of Lasers, and I work for Thunder Laser. So just loving supporting lasers and working on them. Yeah. What about you?
awesome. Well, not much. I mean, I've been in the laser business for about 10 years now. Created the rotaries back in, I had my own back in 2018, and then 2019 decided to make it production ready and sell it. But before that, 20 years in the military, I did a lot of carpentry and things like that, kind of side jobs before the quote unquote side hustle was really a thing. And then in 2015, I got herniated discs in my back and kind of had to give that up. So I jumped kind of full head into the laser stuff and vinyl graphics and all the stuff that we do today. Um, it's funny you mentioned that's like 7 years ago because that's about the time that we started talking to each other
Yeah,
through a
and
mutual.
I think we've discussed this before that it's really odd that at that point in time this entire industry took a shift, and I don't know if it was because of Lightburn, because you brought the better rotaries. I mean, the China version rotaries were absolutely horrible. Um, you know, it, 7, 8 years ago is when this industry just skyrocketed, and it was the precursor, I believe, to Glowforge.
Yeah,
Glowforge was about to come out, and shortly after that, it just skyrocketed.
yeah, it's I mean, there for a while. I mean, I thought the laser stuff was kind of going to go away because it kind of lost traction, I guess, or not really traction. It never really had traction. It's just because I think we had so many junk machines out there. Um, and then obviously with Thunder and I think Thunder, Eon, a couple other companies started to kind of really focus on the American market, and
Right.
in doing so, I think they kind of reinvigorated the laser business.
Yeah,
But
it was
but
a
as a whole, I
very
mean, yeah,
closed.
it's taken off. I mean, a lot of the stuff that we used to do back in the day, like we talked about this before, how we were doing full wraps on things 5 6 years ago. I mean, obviously
Right.
we didn't think it was ever going to take off because one, obviously it takes a long time to do the setup process, the design process, all that stuff. We're like, oh, it's never gonna work. And then here we are,
Right.
2020, 2023, I guess is when that kind of took off. And that's what everybody's talking about.
Yeah, and here we are with
Um,
Stanley Cups, driving everybody crazy.
yeah, I have still yet. I've only done two of them, and it was only because a customer brought it in, um, and I did it. But yeah, I have no desire to do those. It's neat. I love seeing what everybody's doing out there.
I
It's
think it's
definitely
interesting because
bringing.
once you have that pattern down and you have your steps or your graphic sizing, it's fairly repeatable. But yeah,
Yep,
in the past, it was there wasn't a lot of ways to make money. It just seemed like it would take so long to set up
yep.
to run it. But yeah, I'm glad that I see people doing it all the time now, and the designs are beautiful. You know, we got Katie makes things, making crazy ones. There's a whole bunch of people making them like crazy, and they're absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, they've come a long way, and like I said, there's too many people to name, but there's probably at least a dozen of them that are kind of the go-to, and depending on what group you're in, you'll know who those are. But yeah, I love seeing it. Everybody's coming out with new and better things, you know, and with the advancements of the rotaries, obviously, between myself and other brands, it's really elevated or allowed people to elevate their game as far as being able to do stuff like that. So that,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
that's more than satisfying for me, just to be able to help people and take part of that myself. I did want to point out real quick, if anybody's on here, I've seen a lot of comments. If you're trying to comment, if you can uh, log into StreamYard, that way we can actually see your comments, or who's making the comments. That way we can address you properly and answer the questions that you might have. But yeah, so just to kind of break down the podcast, you know, this is something I've wanted to do for quite some time. Um, you know, now I'm kind of in a place where we can kind of do this, and then, you know, if any of you guys were in Illinois for the LBX and saw the fiasco that took place at the hotel and other places, you know, that kind of spurred it on for me at least.
Well,
And
yeah, I
Chris
think.
would come on board with it and do it, you know. So
Well, I mean, we have an interesting relationship where we like to pick on each other, and you know, it's an interesting dynamic. It's like oil and water between both of us, but you know, we agree on everything, but we just have a different view, and it kind of brings that creativity together. So
I mean, that's one of the good things I like about our relationship, um, pretty much from the beginning, because we've always done this. We both have our way of doing it, and neither way is necessarily wrong.
I well,
It's
yours
just we
is.
have, well, yours is too, um, but you know, it is just like any other Discord that you might see on the internet. I mean, take it for what it is, take it for what it's worth. The best thing you can do is learn from it. And you know, I've learned a lot from Chris. Hopefully he he's learned some from me as well. But you
I
know,
learned
and
not to listen to you.
yeah, I try not to listen to myself either, but it doesn't always work. Um, but yeah, just take some of the stuff. Like, we're gonna talk about a bunch of different stuff. Obviously, you know, the name Turn and Burn, obviously the rotaries, and then the lasers. So that's kind of what this is geared towards. So really, we're opening this up to anybody that has any questions, or things that you'd like to see in future episodes. We plan on doing this right now at least once a month, and depending on, you know, what kind of support and viewership we have and the interest in it, we might do it. We won't do it more than 2 times a month. I can promise you that, because we're both very busy. I mean, just getting this podcast for the first one going has been, you know, a little bit of back and forth, just because, you know, we're both very busy and trying to find time, and everything has been a
So,
little difficult.
so
But
by busy, you mean you going to Australia?
say what?
So how was it down under?
um, it was a great place. I mean, it's some place that I've wanted to go for a long time. I had a couple business contacts down there with the lasers, and also, if any of you guys seen a video that I put out, I may start distributing for a company down there, exclusive in the U.S. for air filtration systems for lasers.
That's
Um,
interesting.
so I was down there. Actually, the guy that hosted me and that I stayed with and everything while I was down there is the owner. And I've known him for years. Through he used to run Pulse Laser Systems down in Australia, and he sold that and then started this new business venture. So we've known each other for a while. He's a good friend of mine. And hopefully I'll be getting some of those units up here to test out, and and see if they're even worth doing, because I'm not gonna obviously put my name behind something that I don't think is gonna work. But
Well, hopefully that turned it into a good trip at least. Did you end up face to face with a kangaroo and have a boxing match or anything, or?
I didn't have a boxing match because none of them debated how to do a cup with me, so I didn't get in any boxing matches. But I did actually get up, pet them, feed them, and stuff like that. So that was really neat.
Well, next time we see each other, I'll let you do the same.
Yeah. Pet you, feed
and
you,
feed and feed
yeah.
me. Take me out.
All right, so looks like I got a question from Laser Everything. Not sure. I thought they knew everything. No. Why does anyone use three-phase drivers for anything ever? I mean, that's a pretty good question. And my take on that is that of probably a lot of the people that build the lasers is, usually once you get to a certain size of laser, you're moving so much mass. The three-phase is much more efficient at doing that. It's I wouldn't say quicker, but it's just more efficient. Chris might have a different take on that, and I'm sure he does. But what do you think, Chris? Why do they use three-phase lasers or three-phase motors?
I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't tell you. I mean, technology has come so far now. You would think they would be able to do it quicker, faster, more efficient with feedback drivers and stuff like that than the way that some of these companies are still using some of the older technology.
Yeah. I don't think Thunder uses three-phase at all, right?
No. And ours are all well, at least on the Nova series, they're all feedback. So I mean,
Okay.
we're constantly reading.
Yep.
It skips a beat, it knows to autocorrect. So that's rare. A lot of these Chinese machines don't do that. Also say hi to Robin. Robin's taking notes.
Yeah, I see that.
And if you guys don't subscribe to her magazine, she's got some pretty good spreads. I just happened to be in the last one.
Yeah. Speaking of that, how was that?
That was interesting. Just reading, running through the history of the past 7-8 years was kind of, you don't stop and think back to how it all started, to how far you've come. And it was nice being asked these questions to revisit how I started, how I got to where I'm at now, how I got the following, how people came to know who I was. So it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I appreciate her the time and the effort that she put into doing the article.
Yeah, I hate to say that I haven't seen that article. Don't hate me, Robin. But
it came out while you were on a plane, so
yeah, it came out while I was gone. I just haven't had time to look at it. I tend to try to check them all out to see what's going on, because she does put a lot of effort into it. I know we've spoken on many occasions. So, and I give her all the praise. Yeah, I'm sorry, Robin. I give her all the praise in the world for what she's doing, because the laser community definitely needs something like that, to kind of find everything, a little bit of everything in one spot. I think is the biggest thing that I like about it, because otherwise, you got people bouncing around in Facebook groups and YouTube and all this stuff. And she does a good job at kind of picking people to be featured and to write articles and things like that. So she's very,
sure.
Absolutely. So she's definitely doing a good job. I hope she sticks around and keeps going with it. And I know things
and
can be
that's
tough.
another thing that I discussed with her was how far it's come from when I started. And that's one of the reasons I started House of Lasers, because the entire industry was so closed in. They didn't share settings like Laser Everything. You guys are doing a phenomenal job with building libraries and sharing information, and that didn't exist. Like even the YouTube channels, House of Lasers was, on the forefront. back then, because nobody was doing that type of stuff.
Yeah, me
you
and
ask
you.
somebody for settings for a fiber laser, forget it. You're never gonna get them.
Yeah, I think back when we were, I mean, before we even got to know each other, we were both kind of doing the whole YouTube thing, before it was what it is now. Um, and I think that, I mean, that's where kind of I got my start with kind of getting information about different things, and it definitely helped with my rotary stuff. You
Mhm.
know, even though the video quality, if you go back and look at it, it's horrible because I was using these like 720 P. I don't even know what those little square cameras with the
Oh
fisheye
yeah.
lens and stuff. Yeah. Um, but yeah, we were doing that, quite a ways back, and then unfortunately, I kind of stepped out of it, when I started doing the rotary stuff because that enveloped a lot of my time.
Hmm.
And doing that stuff with people and for people is something I thoroughly enjoy, and that's another reason why I wanted to do this. Um, so if you're just joining, just want to put this out there. We're just kind of going over the groundwork. This is our first podcast. Um, if you're posting, we can't see you. I don't know, maybe Robin, because she got it figured out. Maybe she can put the steps. I'm not 100% sure. It's been a while since I've done it, but to get your
Yeah,
comments on Facebook to
Tom's
show up
got it.
here.
Rob's got it figured
Um,
out.
hey,
Laser,
what's
everything
going on,
else.
Robert? Thanks for joining us. But yeah, so we were doing that stuff back then. I stepped out because, the rotary stuff took 95% of my time at that point because I was just doing it myself, hand doing everything. I know Chris got his job, his businesses and stuff that he was messing with, and then we kind of fell into our own little niche.
Life took over,
Um,
and
yep,
Facebook took a back seat, or not Facebook, but YouTube took a back seat. But
yep.
yeah, I mean, it got us
But
to where we are here now, and I wouldn't really change it.
no, I mean everything happens for a reason. So in my view, I mean, through all the good and bad that we've had, anybody for that matter, I mean, it's what makes us and puts us in the position we're in now. So I definitely wouldn't change it for the world. And it's funny, like I remember, I think it's Steve. I'm gonna butcher his last name. Steve Morfin. Uh, I can't even pronounce his name.
Mm.
Morphian. I think it's the one that actually got us talking to each other back when I had the rotaries, and I know you had
Oh, he's
A.
from Florida too.
Yeah, he had
Yeah.
AP, or you had AP lasers and stuff, and I was trying to figure out the AP lasers for the rotaries, and he recommended to talk to you, and then the rest is pretty much history, as far as that goes. But
Yeah, because they
but
came with
yeah,
that anchor.
yeah,
It was a boat anchor.
they still got one. They just updated it. um, wouldn't have a channel. Yeah, laser everything. I'm assuming that's Alex. That's true. And Alicia Pate has her podcast that she does with the Pate Ranch. And she touches a lot of stuff with business related things, and she just actually, I guess, I think it was not too long ago, she did one with somebody. But laser everything, saying, if you stuck with the original business goals, it wouldn't have a channel, and that's true. I mean, if what you're doing as a business, like for me, I can relate to that because I was a woodworker. I was a carpenter. I made custom furniture and all kinds of stuff. I never in my wildest dreams thought I would get into this business. Um, but if I had followed that path or that goal, I wouldn't be here. The same thing with Alex. I mean, I don't know what his background is before all this necessarily. Um, but yeah, if you're not willing to kind of, I don't know the word I'm looking for. If you're
Yeah,
not really
you have to
willing
be.
to change course based
Yeah.
on what is going on in either your life or your business, then you're either going to stagnate and be miserable, or you're going to fail. I mean, I don't mean to be, too blunt about it, but I mean, it's just a reality. I've seen too many people get into this, thinking it's just you plug it in and you play with it. It's not like that. And, and getting frustrated with it, which is completely understandable. We've all been there. But one of the things I can recommend and suggest to anybody is make sure you're getting information from a viable source. Not to
Right.
say that not to say that people that say stuff on Facebook or anything don't know what they're talking about, but get with somebody that is reputable, someone that has been in this business. I don't care if you talk to me. Like I said, I've been doing this for about 10 years. Chris is about the same, I think.
Yep.
So we have a wealth of knowledge. Um,
And
but just
it's not just the laser knowledge too. I mean, we've both grown successful businesses,
yeah,
and Alex, it's all about the pivot, and that's 100%.
that's
And that's just life in
that's
general. Being
that's the
able
word I was looking for.
being able to pivot when you see things changing, like who changed their entire game plan when COVID hit.
Yeah,
I mean, we all had to make some major changes when that happened. When I got into this, I could have told you that I was going to be doing firearms all day, every day. That's what I was going to do. And
yeah.
next thing you know, I owned a tumbler company. I was I was
how
fabricating
that
tumblers.
how that correlates is beyond me, but
I,
that's
but
a
I
prime example.
I pivoted. I saw what the market was doing, like these Stanley Cups. If you're not offering that right now, as part of your engraving business, then maybe
Yeah,
you're missing a boat, or maybe you're smart by not offering it. I don't know.
yeah. And another thing, and like laser everything. Oops, wrong one. Um, there's infinite sources out there. Um, and and one of the things that I've learned over the course of the time in this industry, um, everybody wants to put something out there. Everybody wants to make a comment, and that's fine. But as the person questioning or having a question or trying to figure out what's right or wrong, get a couple opinions. Ask a couple people. Don't just go off of one opinion. Find someone that you know or think is reputable within the industry, and reach out to them. Most of us are more than willing. I'll pick up a phone anytime to help anybody out. I know Chris used to be that way, but working with Thunder, I mean, he's got a lot on his plate with that alone, so he may
Well,
not be able to help as much as he'd like to.
and
But
and I may not be contributing on House of Lasers as much anymore. I do have a couple of videos that I'm going to be posting that I'm doing, one for Thunder, but it correlates in life, or in laser life. It's just information that people don't have, like differences between lenses.
yeah,
Why? What is the huge difference? So I am going to try to contribute a little bit more to the House of Lasers YouTube channel, but I create a ton of content for Thunder, and if you watch their YouTube channel, then you could learn stuff. Even though it's a different machine than you might have, you can still learn a ton of stuff.
oh yeah. I mean, there's like I said, there's plenty of sources out there. Just be mindful of where you're getting the information. Do a little bit more research. Like I've had people get a hold of me and say, "Hey, I got my machine tore apart because people said I need to do this, that, and the other on the internet," and it was something as simple as like let's say for a Thunder, they forgot to put in their backlash settings off that
Right.
gold card. It was something very simple, but they had belts loose, heads taken off, lenses all out, mirrors out. So before you go down a rabbit hole, question the validity of what you're reading, or get
Yeah.
confirmation from somebody else. Don't like I said, just because someone puts something out there
Well,
doesn't necessarily mean they're wrong. But
it's the Facebook error right now, and it is an error because
yeah,
so many people go directly to there. I don't want to research, and this is our podcast, so whatever, no holes barred. you know you go directly to Facebook, hoping that somebody, and thank God there are people that want to help, but a lot of people don't help because they're giving you what they think. I've been using you just got your machine. I've been using my machine for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So let me give you the answer. And that's kind of how it ends up. And you do get a rabbit hole kind of effect where you're taking bad information over bad information.
See,
So
another big thing that I see, and this is all just to try to help people. We're not bashing anybody. We're not going to mention any names or anything like that. But if you have a question, like for me, for instance, the Rotoboss, if you have one of my rotaries, my number is literally printed on every single rotary that leaves our shop. And I do that for a very important reason, because I'd rather you get it from the horse's mouth before you get frustrated so we can fix the issue. Because oftentimes all I need is a picture and I can pretty much almost always tell you what's wrong with it right off the bat. Same thing with Thunder. Reach out to them, be patient, obviously. They're growing exponentially, and they're getting people on board and whatnot. But be patient. They will answer you as quickly as they can, and so will I. But if you have that kind of resource available to you, please use it. And for me, it doesn't even have to be about rotary stuff. Some people just get a hold of me about laser stuff, and that's fine. I have no problem helping people. And I'm sure Chris is the same way. Laser, rotary, whatever. We've been there. We've done that for many years now. By no means are we experts, but we're professionals. So I mean, it's just one of those things. And when you're asking a question on the internet, another big thing for you as the person asking the question is, please give as much detail as possible. Because I don't know if anybody's seen, usually my comments to a post is, okay, what machine are you using? What are your settings? Things like that. Like, fill us in with as much information, because that's going to help weed out the people that
Right.
think they know what's going on and making
Jason.
assumptions. Like, if you get squiggly, or not squiggly lines, but I've seen this too many times in Thunder particularly, is where someone will put a post, it's just a picture, it'll say, why is my laser doing this? And let's say it's fuzzy engraving. People will jump off and say, oh, your belt's loose, oh, your lenses are loose, oh, your mirror's loose, oh, your tube's loose, or just all this stuff, when it's just something as simple like going back to the backlash settings on your gold card will fix it. So just put as much information out there. It's going to help you in the long run, because you're not going to get as many people that are making assumptions with no information, and it's also going to help us that want to help you, because we can look at it and say, okay, well,
Alex,
what they're saying,
your tube is loose.
yeah.
I mean, it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely, Max. I mean, there's no stupid questions. You might feel stupid for asking it, but you're not gonna learn if you don't ask it. But the stupid question, I guess, would be the one that has no information, just a picture and says, why is it doing this?
And it's usually worded very specifically. What's wrong?
Yep.
And go.
Yeah, exactly. And that doesn't help you. It doesn't help us that really want to help you, because a lot of times I'll pass over posts like that, because I'll see like 30 comments on it, and I already know that 99% of those probably just threw out some random thing that they thought was a problem, and never once asked a single question to get any clarification. So I say that with no disrespect to anybody, but please, if you have questions, one, reach out to the person that made the device, or that supports the device. Two, when you post a question, make sure that you give details, specific details, and more information is better. You may not know what to put out there, but the more information you put out there is the better for everybody, yourself included. So take that for what it's worth. That's just a bit of advice from me. So that way,
this is too serious now.
I'm getting the hand gestures in there.
No, yeah,
um,
it's always fun that you look at those posts and there are, like you said, 30 comments, and then you find out, oh, I have a diode laser.
yeah. Well,
Oh,
a big one
then
too is
this
like,
is all the
hey,
answers are CO2 related. What do you
yeah. Well,
would know?
the in Thunder, that's not. I haven't seen that, or even some of the other specific pages. I haven't seen that as much. But when you get into Alicia's page, um,
Uh-oh, calling her out.
I'm not calling her out. I'm just saying, like in general, in pages that are very general to lasers across
Right.
the board. You'll have people with a CO2, and then someone with a diode or a fiber chimes in and says, "Oh, you need to change your frequencies." It's like CO2s don't have frequencies there, you know. It's like, so that you gotta make sure you know who you're getting information from. And just because you have a Nova 24 and the other person has a Nova 63 and they give you setting recommendations, you're going to be off. Like it's going to be completely wrong.
You can have
So
two. You can have two of the same damn machines sitting in the same room.
exactly.
It doesn't matter. It does not matter.
Yeah,
Everybody's settings are different.
like Alex, like I said, I'm assuming this is Alex. If it is, let me know so I can address you. Laser everything, you know, we'd much rather sort through the information that you give us than try to draw it out of you, because then while we're trying to draw the information out, you got all these other people screaming in your ear to do something. Um, so
Yeah,
yeah, give as much information as you can.
yeah. There's nothing like being deflated by chasing a ghost, and you're being told where the ghosts are, but there is no ghost. Figure it out by
That's
going
like
to the source.
I had someone reach out to me this week. Like just the sound of the voice, I could tell I could hear the frustration in the voice.
Right.
And they said that they were working on this for almost a week to try to figure out why things weren't working on the rotary, because this was rotary related, and took me about 15 minutes and having them look in the settings to realize, because it was another one of those, I was using it, I set it up, everything was good, I come back to use it, and now it's not turning, with that whole 360 thing.
Right.
And they went down these rabbit holes of people saying, "Oh, check this, add weight, do this, flip it around, whatever." And she said, I was trying to keep that out, but she was like, "I've tried all this stuff. I don't know what to do." And like literally within 10, 15 minutes, I had her straightened out and she was on cloud 9. So, I mean,
Why'd it take you so long?
well, because one of it is I was asking for settings and I kept getting kickback saying, I checked my settings. I haven't changed them. I haven't done anything to them.
Screenshot, please.
So I get that kickback until they look at their screen and it says 360 on it, and that's
And
why
that's
it does.
supposed to be corrected too. It's supposed to read that. There's supposed to be a fix for that coming, from what I understand.
Yeah, I know when I talked to Jason at LBX, he said that was something that was not of a high priority, but it was something they were definitely looking to resolve. And that's just the laser or the software searching for the laser, because typically when that happens, you've turned on light burn before you turned on your laser.
Right, you're
so
not
light
connected.
burn, when it starts up, it's looking for the data from the laser. If the laser's not turned on, light burn's going to automatically go to default.
Right.
And that's part of the default settings is at 360 on the rotary, which I don't know how he's going to fix that, but if he does, that would be phenomenal because I get so many calls about that. But
I don't know
yeah,
if
just
you
simply
were you on the Thunder webinar where Chris proposed the idea. Chris Myers, one of the other techs at Thunder, proposed the idea of kind of like you have a drop down for what is it for? Like your library or your material test library, where you can have presets for your tests, right? So we save a material test library and say it's for your fiber, say it's for your CO2, say it's for leather, whatever it is. So why not have a setting for you can save the steps per rotation, you can save the type of rotary, you can save all of that stuff right there. And so then drop down, I'm doing a Stanley tumbler today, go in the drop down, Stanley tumbler, my steps are da da da, my it just holds everything there. So it's a preset setting for your rotary.
I mean, that's kind of what I like when I talk to people. That's what I recommend is like once you set up for the rotary, and please do it by the manual. Stop watching the videos. Once you set it up, I actually have a video on Rotoboss Rotary Attachments YouTube about how to save those settings. So once you set it up by the manual, save that as your baseline setting in a file. So you'll save the file. I have a folder. It's just specifically rotary settings, and I have that in there. And if I do like a 40-ounce water bottle or 30-ounce whatever, any changes that I've made, I'll save that file as whatever it is I'm doing. So that way, one, if it does that and reverts back to 360 like it does, you can just go back in, load file, and then all your settings and everything will pop back up. You're good to go. You don't have to write anything down. You don't have to remember anything. It's just easy to do. And mainly that comes in for water bottles when you do it the right way with the clamp. You can save those steps that you made the changes to in there, so you don't ever have to do them again. You just save that file, load it up when you're ready, and you go to town. Because flipping it around is just sacrilegious.
Idea where you can have a drop down and say, all right, Stanley 40-ounce, Polar Camel 20-ounce.
But is that something you have to type in your stuff?
So if you've ever used the material test file where you can save presets, you save preset settings of the material test.
Yeah.
You would go in there, select it. You would already have it set. You figured it out once, and then now you're saving it within Lightburn's what's it called? Profile settings.
Yep.
So you would just select it. Kind of like a device setting. So if you're picking from, your Thunder or your Aeon or your Boss, you would go in there and say, all right, Yeti, Polar Camel. So you would just select from that, and it would have the right steps per rotation already built in, remembered.
Yeah, I mean that would be more efficient than having to go to a folder.
Yeah.
If it works out that way.
Right. I'm sure it'll be added. It'll just be a while.
Yeah. I mean, it's like you said, it's not low-hanging fruit. So it's not stuff that they're, I'm sure, super worried about, because the software works phenomenal. I mean, I've been with them since the very beginning. I think I got my license in like 2018. And just watching what they've done to this point is just phenomenal. Especially with the fibers. Fibers have taken off through the roof, or not fibers, but galvos in general.
Mm-hmm.
Because of Lightburn, I think. Because I didn't own. I owned one fiber, even back when you first knew me, and I absolutely hated it because, like, if you're trying to do stippling and things like that, you'd have to have a very RAM intensive computer, because EasyCAD didn't do any of that. It would crash. Like you'd be processing a job and it would just crash because your computer couldn't handle it or whatever.
It does not like a high amount of vectors, and it does not like a lot of hatching, for sure.
Well, EasyCAD, from what I understand, and anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is from Jason, EasyCAD basically buffers the information.
Yeah.
Whereas when you hit start with Lightburn, it sends everything to the laser. So it's not it processes it and sends the information to the laser for you, whereas EasyCAD relies on your computer to process it as it's sending. So Lightburn just makes it faster. It's less likely to crash. I don't think that I can recall ever having Lightburn crash on anything. At least in my experience.
I can make it crash.
I mean, I'm sure you
I can
could.
make anything crash.
Um,
If it's never been broken, send it my way.
yeah, well, that's true. I've seen some of the stuff that you crash. um, but yeah, so yeah. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to put them in the comment section. I'm sorry if I missed some stuff. I've been trying to keep up.
Everybody signed out. There's nobody else here.
There's 18 people here. What are you talking about? Let's see.
And Steve Moparian did join in. It looked like he was
Yeah,
here.
I saw he enunciated it for us.
Man, he has come a long way. He's making some kick-ass cups. He's making crazy LED lighted, LED lit, what's it called? Stuff for the cars, for the car shows, the hood holders and stuff. So,
yeah.
yeah.
And that's the pivot. I mean, I remember when he started out, you know, he would always ask me a lot of questions about stuff and how to do things and whatnot. And you know, over the years, I've got less and less of that. I mean, he still reaches out sometimes.
No, he's doing amazing work.
Yeah, he's been doing a lot of stuff. Because I think he got injured or something pretty bad, and he made the pivot because he's a car guy.
Right.
So he made the pivot instead of trying to fit in with the engraving and cups and all that stuff. He pivoted to cars,
Yeah,
make an emblem.
I don't know if Alicia stayed, but you know, that's one takeaway from hers, and it was something I was already doing, but I don't preach it enough. That when you get into this industry, do stuff that you can relate with. Do stuff that
Yep.
you know. You know, like I know cars, and I know, you know, now my son's in wrestling, so I know wrestling, and I know, you know, like being a photographer and taking pictures of the sport that you played, you know the angles to get, you know where the people are going to be and when to take the photo if you're doing like sports photography.
Yep.
So having that knowledge and applying it to a business to make yourself more profitable is huge. You know, running with something that you love, like you military, focusing on a lot of the military stuff. You know, you love the military gang and you want to help them and
Yeah,
you know,
I know what they need, just like you know what the wrestling community needs or
right.
wants. You know, but one of the things, like mainly with this Stanley thing, and I'm not knocking anybody that's doing it by any means, but you know, it's not for everybody. I mean, if you're trying to revolve your business around just doing that, um, it's probably not sustainable because it does take a lot of time. You got to figure probably an hour and a half to 2 hours to set everything up and run a job, um, from start to finish. So I mean, that's a lot of time for what you're getting for the cups. I mean, yeah, it's cool. I enjoy seeing it myself. I don't do it, and I've had people ask me to do it, and I refuse to do it because it's just not something I'm into. It's not something I'm passionate about. Um, and I don't know a lot about that community. Just like the hat game, you know, everybody wants to get on the hat game now, which is fine. Um, but again, you gotta if you don't have the passion for what you're doing, people are gonna see that. People are gonna know that you don't have the passion, and they're gonna internally they're probably gonna doubt if you know what you're doing. Um, partly, and that comes with when you're dealing with people on prices and things like that. If you say, "Well, we could do $50, you know, first thing that's popped into my head is I can negotiate. You know, whereas if you come out with confidence and say it's going to cost $50 to do this, they're not most of the time they're not going to bat an eye, and if they do, they're probably people you want to kick to the curb anyways because they're going to be nothing but trouble. Like I had a guy when I was in Australia, my laser operator had a customer had come in before, and it had been nothing but trouble. Comes in saying, "I want to get this done, and I'll pay $40 or whatever it was. And she didn't know what to do. She was a little nervous. And, I talked to her about it afterwards. Obviously, I wasn't mad at her. She didn't do anything wrong. She was kind of put on the spot, but she had that kind of pulled back response, which made him feel like, I'm going to get this for $40 or whatever. And once I got back, she waited until I got back and told me about it. And I called him up and said, we ain't going to be able to do it for that. I said, she misquoted you. We're not going to be able to do it. Things like that. But just having confidence in what you do and having a passion for it. That's people see that, people recognize that. And
well, and if that's the case, then you don't feel like you're a master of your craft yet.
yeah,
You need more time behind the wheel of the machine to know how to manipulate it. Once you're comfortable, just like a race car driver, you go out there ready to win. You don't go out there saying, maybe I'll come in last or in the middle, or, but I had a guy the other day, and I made some stuff for school, and he's a woodworker, and he's like, yeah, you and your cheating machines. I'm like, but I have to know how to program them. I have to know how to use them. Just because I have them, if you had a CNC, then you'd be using a CNC. While it's different, you have to be the master of your craft, and you have to know what your worth is. And you can't undersell yourself. Your time is valuable. Your production, it all costs money. Don't get ripped off.
And it depends on your business model. If you're just doing this for a hobby, that's one thing, and it may not be that crucial. But don't try to keep up with Etsy. Don't try to keep up with TikTok Shop and all this stuff. People selling full wrap tumblers for $30. I mean, that one, it degrades the process. It degrades you as a business, and it hurts you because as well as we do that if you sell a cup for $30, the cup itself costs you at least 10 if you get it from JDS or Lataz or whatever. You're probably paying about $10 for like a 30-ounce cup. And then on top of that, you're only charging $20 for nearly 2 hours worth of work. I mean, that just for someone doing it as a hobby on the side, they don't care.
No,
They just want to. They just want to make money. They don't account their time. They don't account their equipment costs, the running costs, employees, the facility that you're in, whether it's your home or your garage or
right.
a shop or whatever. They're not accounting for that. I mean, and I did that when I was first starting out. I never budged on my prices. My prices are what they were. If people wanted to buy it, then they bought it. If they didn't, they didn't. But I had the same mentality because I didn't pay myself for like the first 3 years that I started doing, or 2 years that I started doing the rotaries, for instance, because that's obviously what kind of took off for me. But the first 2 years I didn't pay myself a single dime. Everything went back into the business, into the products.
Right.
Because I mean, everything I did was bootstrapped. I didn't get any investors, nothing like that. It was all literally started from $1,000 in my bank account and was a very last ditch effort to make a business.
I think it's harder to do nowadays. To start from scratch, you got to kind of work your way to that point. But like you were saying about selling yourself short and accepting prices that are under what most people are charging, you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting the industry. So now you've clicked it down another level. All right, well, they're going for $50. I'm going to sell them for $45. Well, now the other person's got to try to compete with you if they want to.
Yep.
If they're strong-willed and believe in their product, then maybe they don't. But they might. It just starts going down and down. It's a snowball effect. So
yeah, because I mean, everybody's going to compete with each other, and then eventually, the people that are doing this for a living and for a means for their family, they're going to be screwed because you got all the mom and pop people willing to cut throats to get a sale, you know, and in my I mean, my situation's a little bit different. Like I do a little bit of everything. I get started out with woodworking, did CNC stuff, lasers, vinyl graphics, embroidery, sublimation, UV printing, DTF. I do all that stuff now as our primary business. Um, but it takes second fiddle or back seat to the rotary stuff. If but it's just sometimes the old adage, you have to spend money to make money. But spending that money in the right place, obviously, is best. You don't want to just go frivolously spending stuff. But like the way I did it was, I did woodworking. People said, "Oh, can you engrave?" I'm like, "Okay, I got a CNC, I can do stuff." And then people started wanting pictures and more detailed stuff that obviously a CNC can't do as easy. So I got into lasers, and then I did a lot of cornhole boards back in the day. People wanted graphics on them, so instead of paying someone to make graphics, I got a vinyl printer and a cutter. So, you know, you got to have a demand, but you also kind of want to think ahead as, come up with a business plan. I mean, every year for any business, you're supposed to do your annual meeting. And that's a time, even if it's just yourself, like for me, it's just me. But, I sit down and I think, okay, where do I want to go this year? What do I want to do? What do I want to accomplish? And I write it down. I think it's stupid because obviously I'm the only one in the business. um, but one, it's kind of like a self reflection, kind of see where you think you're at, and also it helps you set goals. Not everything that I wrote down in the previous years came true, um, but a lot of it did. So it's a good way to say, okay, well, this didn't work. I'm not going to do that next year.
I,
Or
I do like what Laser Everything said about the more you charge, the different clientele you get. You're hitting a different demographic, and the higher the clientele, you'll realize right away that their needs are a lot less. It's really odd. You would think that the higher clientele would have different expectations, would be more pressed with timelines, would be less understanding, but it's the exact opposite. It's the cheapskates
yep.
that are the most bitchy. They are the ones that complain the most, want the most discounts, and all of that stuff. Where if you get these high profile clients, they're very understanding because more than likely they started out where you did.
Yeah.
They started out with a small business and they made it to the top. So it's really interesting that he said that, because it's 100% true that you raise your prices and you bring in the higher clientele, it changes the entire dynamic of your business.
But the thing is too is very important is, one, know your worth, um, and two, make sure you can back up your pricing. Like if you
Right.
charge top dollar for a cup and it looks like garbage, or it has a bunch of lines in it, or it's not cleaned, um,
That
then
is
you're
huge.
gonna you're gonna hurt yourself more than you're gonna help yourself. Yes, I mean you're trying to not necessarily cut corners. You're trying to do maybe what you know, but but
So
definitely
so so
go ahead.
I put it out there to anybody that takes a vacation and goes to any type of a beach town. Go into the souvenir shop. Go in a
Yep.
souvenir shop and look at the products that they sell. And look at the shit that some of these laser companies are producing. Like, it had the laser's not focused. It has soot and sap all over it, not sanded, not cleaned, nothing.
Yep.
And they're
And they're getting
selling
top
them.
dollar.
They're absolutely, it's a tourist town, absolutely.
Yep.
So imagine what you can do by bringing your product into these places and producing a quality product. And like, have pride in what you put out your door. Like, that can't leave my shop. There's no
Yep.
way. I walk into those places and I show my wife, I'm like, the fuck is this
And then
shit?
you gotta have a little reason too, because like me, when I first started, I'm very detail oriented, very OCD about stuff. And like I tell people all the time, you have to know when to kind of let that go a little bit. because something that you might see, other people aren't
Other
even going
people
to
don't.
notice.
Right.
They don't notice. Like I had a guy come in and I did what did I do? Oh, I engraved a gun stock, and you know the cost was $150. It was multiple things and all that stuff. And when he came in, I was like, I'll take 100, because I wasn't satisfied with it. He took one look at it and he said, "No, I'm giving you 150." I'm like, okay, you know. So does that open you up and make you vulnerable? In some cases. And if he would have gave me $100, I wouldn't have been mad, because that's what I felt it was worth, because it didn't turn out the way I wanted it, because it was like a
Uh,
burl, like a burl, like a almost like a zebra would almost. And some spots just came out really black, and some spots were brown, and it wasn't consistent.
I
Um,
I can't tell you the amount of times I've given stuff away because personally I wasn't happy with the product.
I've done that too.
Like I can't charge you for this because it doesn't meet my expectations. It looks perfect. Trust
Yeah.
me, it's not. It's not perfect. It's far from it. It
And
looks like one of Chris Meyer's things that looking for a deal first. They're the first ones that cause you a problem on social media. Yeah, I mean, these
yeah,
people that are looking for deals are the first ones to go to Facebook and all these other places and write you a bad review.
absolutely. Hey, Cindy, thanks for joining us. Um, and don't be afraid to, like, I've given away stuff for the same exact reasons, and I refuse to take money for it. Um, don't be afraid to do that, because I've done that countless times, and you know who comes back for more business?
Hmm.
Those
The guy
people.
that you gave something to free,
You
he's
know,
looking looking
you
for
know
another
who
free product.
you know who's likely to refer you? Those people. You
Absolutely.
know, so don't be afraid to be a little vulnerable, and just, I guess, own up to
Uh,
your mistakes, or let it be known that because you're not only letting them know that you're not satisfied with it, but you're giving them a representation of your integrity, and and the quality of what you demand, or what you expect to have. So a lot of people, again, they'll see that, they'll respect that, um, and a lot of times you'll get it back in return. So
one of the
um,
posts that you made recently was the Chamber or Rotary Club or places like this
the Chamber
where
of Commerce, yep.
yeah. Usually, I mean, a lot of these like BNI groups and stuff like that, I don't buy into a lot of them. You really have to fit a niche to be able to get in there and make it worthwhile. But sometimes they really pay off, especially if you're starting
Yep.
out. It's very good to create relationships. I know in the climate that we're in, and as we get older, like I hate people. I hate people. I hate going shopping. I hate being in line. People are stupid and they're a pain in my ass. But the more of these relationships, business to business relationships you build, and that's how I started my laser company. It was mostly business to business relationships where they will do the legwork for you. You create stuff for them. They appreciate your work. They are going to be the first ones to recommend you because they're also small businesses. So those
Yep.
groups are great to meet those types of people.
Well, that, and another thing too is, I don't know if you do this, Chris, but I do. Like, everything I make for a customer, whether it's 1 cup, 100 cups, or whatever, I always get yourself some business cards if you don't have them, and put them in, because out of those 100 cups you just did, you might get 5 customers out of it. And it cost you $1
Yeah.
worth of business card, $2 worth of
Well,
business
I
cards,
mean,
and you
but
you
not
know
even that. You have a freaking laser. You've
yeah,
got a laser. Flip it over. Engrave your contact
yeah,
information and your business name. Get a fiber laser. Engrave the bottom of the cups.
yeah,
You know, that's walking billboard advertisements for you. You know,
yep.
A lot of people will get it as a gift. Where'd you get that? I don't know. My aunt gave it to me. Hold on. It says it on the bottom. I mean, it just makes sense.
Yeah, it takes a little extra time, and a lot of people think, time is money, which it is, but that extra, like on a fiber, I can put my name and number, or my business and my number on there in like 15 seconds.
Right.
That time is worth it when you look at the possible return on that investment by the people that get the cup. Same with the business cards.
Yeah, I remember I had my foot switch on my fiber, and when I was full bore on the cups, in, out, stack, just pressing my foot, just dun, dun, dun. I mean, it was you get into a pattern, and it's there's no time. It's now you're spreading your name.
Yep. Yeah, any chance you get to put your name out there, take full advantage of it. Some user, I don't know who it is, B2B is much more profitable and reliable, not to mention easier, and that is a fact. The more, like, because I built my business around, and I'm known around my community as basically the person that'll do anything. If I think I can do it, I will not turn a job away, and not because I need the money, but because one, I like to challenge myself. Because if you just stay in this little bubble of comfort, or your comfort zone, that
Yes,
might be the
Jim.
downfall. That might be the downfall of your business. Like, I've done 100-year-old heirlooms. I had a pocket watch from like World War II or World War One, or it was something that someone brought in and wanted to get something engraved on it, and I did it. And that's where,
But
like Chris was talking about, you have to know your machine. Above all else, you have to know your machine and your capabilities and the
yeah,
machine's capabilities, because
and if you're not comfortable, and if you have even a second guess about that, you walk away.
Yep.
You find somebody in the industry that you can refer it to, knowing that too. Work with people that are local.
And network with your laser people.
Right.
Like me and Chris, obviously we don't compete in any way or anything as far as business, but a lot of times you're not going to be in the same community or same area as the people that you're trying to get information from. But network with people. Like, if I have a photo issue, I don't know how many times I've sent something to Chris. I'm like, hey, can you help me out with this? Because I know I know he does that stuff very well. So I don't try to take it on, or if I take on a job, I'll be like, well, let me take a look at it. Let me see what I can do, and then I'll get back to you. And then I'll get a hold of somebody that is more of an expert on it. Like,
Well,
when
yeah,
the UV stuff became popular, I was asking Alicia and I think it's May, or me. I call her Mia.
yeah,
I get with them. I'm like, hey, what do you recommend for settings? And then, but don't take that to heart, because their machines are 5 watts, mine's a 10 watts. So obviously things are going to be a little different. But get something to base it off of and kind of work from there. Don't be afraid to waste stuff. Like, try to be as cautious of it as you can. Like, I use tape all the time, especially when I get customer cups and things like that. I always, no matter what the job is, I'll always put tape on it. I'll do a test run first. Yes, it takes a little bit of time, but the last thing you want to do, especially like I had these Yetis that came in. They were colored, like some weird colors, and they spent like a month trying to get enough of them to do what they needed to do. They didn't have any extras, nothing. And nothing's worse than doing that, ruining it for something you cannot replace.
yeah. Know your
If it's off
role
the
for sure.
yeah, absolutely. And
So
know
one of
your
the
role before you offer services. Don't
yeah,
try to learn it. Like, I've seen so many posts like, "Oh, I got this order. I've never done this type thing before.
right.
How do I
Yep.
do it? I need this job like done in 2
Definitely,
days."
definitely do that heirloom based off of Facebook comments. That'll work. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, talking back to business and reaching out to fellow laser engravers, most of them are your competition, but know the ones that aren't.
Yep.
Sign shops, trophy shops, they typically have very small format machines. And if you have a larger format machine, they're going to reach out to you. I used to have a sign shop constantly reach out to me because I had a much larger machine than he had. And, I would be able to do these things that he couldn't even touch. Around the corner, I have a trophy shop. Well, they just do small placards. They have a little tiny epilogue. Reaching out to these people and knowing what they could do for you and what you could do for them is huge. And you might be able to teach them something, and you could probably learn something as well from them.
Absolutely. And another thing I wanted to address real quick is I see a lot of comments on Facebook and otherwise about pricing. I'm not going to get into great detail with it, but I just wanted to hop on it since we're kind of talking about the business side of things. Don't be afraid to call up a competitor in your area. I mean, obviously, don't tell them, "Hey, I'm so and so from something engraving or whatever." Like, "Hey, I'm looking for this cup with 3 lines of text or something that you may want to do or your customer may want you to do." Don't be afraid to call them up. Say, "Hey, what would it cost to get something like this done?" So that way you can kind of gauge where the market is in your area, because I can sell 30-ounce tumblers for $40 all day long where I'm at. That doesn't mean that somewhere in the middle of nowhere in, I don't know,
Right.
whatever state, that you're going to be able to get $40 a cup for it. That's just not reality. Like, because I can go like gas is a prime example. If you've ever been anywhere in your area, you can go to one area of town, it's $3.20 a gallon. You go to another area of town, it's $2.89, or it's whatever. So
What year are we in?
I'm
What
just
year are we buying gas?
I'm
Not
just
this year.
I'm just saying arbitrary numbers, obviously, but to the point, even in the same state, different locations. Like if you were in Miami, you could probably get $75 for that $50 cup.
Well, and that's why when I tell people, I do a lot of talking with first time users, or even people, from demos to sales calls to stuff like that with Thunder. $100 machine hour to $200 and $250 for machine hour, depending on your demographic. You have to
Yep.
feel that out, but that is a good range of what this machine should yield you. Somewhere between $100 an hour and $250 an hour is a really, really good place to start.
Yep.
On top of your product. You buy a JDS tumbler for $6, it's automatically 12,
Yep.
or more, and then you add on your machine time, and that should yield you an excellent profit.
But one caveat to that would be if you have a diode,
But you're not. I mean,
you can't expect to raise your prices because you have a machine that cannot do it an adequate amount of time to make a profit.
Right.
Because that is going to hurt you. And that's where knowing your machine and the capabilities comes in. Because I've seen that too many times where people are, "Oh, I can't sell a cup for this amount of money. I'm counting for this, my machine, all that stuff." You find out they got a diode. It's like the diode takes like 30 minutes to do a single-sided cup where you can do it on
2 to 5 minutes. Yeah.
Another laser for 5 minutes.
Right.
So you can't base your price off of the lack of capabilities of your machine or the lack of efficiency of your machine, because that will hurt you in the long run.
And I don't think that there's anybody here that is in that market with the diodes or with the Glowforges. But if it does get out to them, I mean, just think about the profit margin that you're going to create when you're making stuff that takes 45 minutes, now takes less than 10. How many more of those products can you do? I mean, I can't tell you how many times people with Glowforges come here to my shop, bring a file, like, all right, well, I know how long it takes on my Glowforge. I want to see how fast the Thunder can do it. And their jaw hits the ground. Like, I've been wasting all of this time. Like, You have a Glowforge farm at your place, with $6,000 to $10,000 machines. I mean, how much could you have been making? Seriously.
And it's just like Alex says, a diode could do well with a farm, and if you don't know what a farm is, it's where you have a large quantity of devices at one time. But yeah, if you're doing it to make a profit with a diode, and you need to make a profit, you need to step up to a better machine. I mean, it'll only, just like a Glowforge. Glowforge, I've never used one. I've heard they're great for what they are, but production wise and stuff like that, you gotta be able to spend the money. And if you have the demand for it, being able to pay off the machine, I don't know what a Thunder costs when it's financed, probably a couple $100 a month, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it can't be any more than even
But I
even
mean,
at top tier, it can't be more than a couple $100.
but if you're making, $2,000 a month, let's say, and it only costs you $200 to buy a better machine, your profits are going to go up exponentially because you're going to be able to do more stuff more quickly, better precision, better quality, more reliability, things like that. So that's a lot to look into when you're doing the lasers. And I noticed we're over an hour, but as long as Chris is good, we can keep going. As long as you guys are okay, we'll keep going.
Let's cut it off in 10. How's that?
In 10?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll call it 120 or 920. I'm looking at So we'll call it 920. So we'll give it about 8 minutes. So if anybody has any questions, please go ahead and ask. Like I said, this is our first episode. We're just kind of testing the waters, seeing how you guys like it, and definitely looking for future episodes. Any suggestions that you might have, so please feel free to put them out. So that way we can it'll help kind of drive us to where we need to be to help you guys. Because this one's just basically been a BS session. Hopefully we've given some good information during this, but it's just been kind of like a little BS session to kind of get things going. So, but anyways, yeah. So let's see. Yep, fast, cheap, and good. I don't know if you guys have ever heard that. You can only have two. If it's fast and cheap, it ain't good. If it's fast and good, it ain't cheap. And if it's cheap and good, it ain't fast. So that's kind of how that works. And and it's true. And that's where when people come in and they start bartering with you and trying to I only want to pay this much. It's like, sorry, you go somewhere else, because I can't do it for that.
I love the meme where they have, my friend could do it. My friend said he could do it. Like, it's a picture of a horse that's a stick figure, and then the backside is like the beautiful picture of the horse.
Yep. So hopefully you guys can take away something from this. Like I said, this initial one, and they'll probably all be kind of this way. We want it to be driven by you guys, but hopefully you guys learn some stuff. And this is just two guys' perspectives. Granted, total, we've been in the business for about 20 years collectively, as far as our experience and knowledge, and by no means are we experts in everything. But ourselves, other people, I don't want to name drop people, because I don't know if they want to be mentioned, but maybe in future episodes. But there's a lot of people out there that are very respectable and reputable within the community. So just make sure you're getting information from the right people, and don't hesitate to question what they say, or get information from other places and just kind of put it together. Because for me, I literally started with a YouTube University degree. I mean, everything, I'm all self-taught. I don't have any formal education.
I see it back there in the plaque on the wall there. Yep, that's right there.
Got my Navy stuff right there. That's my education. But I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, so but be mindful what you're pulling off the internet as far as information. Watch a couple videos related to the same topic and be like, why are they butting heads? Why does that not make sense? Like me and Chris, we butt heads all the time. Neither of us are ever wrong, but we butt heads. You know, we have different ways of doing things. So kind of take what he says, take what I say, and put them together and be like, okay, where are the differences? Now, why are there differences? And kind of analyze it, I guess. Don't just
I
take
think I think
one
we have
person's
probably
view.
an older crowd, and they could probably appreciate that since I'm getting up there in age. But I took growing up, I took stuff that I saw that my grandfather, my grandmother, I took little little pieces of what they had to offer, and I took the shit that I didn't like and I threw it to the side. And I took the things that they were amazing and I tried to instill it in myself, and
Yep.
it transfers into your business. So don't listen to Jason. And
If you listen to Chris, you'll be going down a rabbit hole. But
he's so
no.
old. Jim, stop, Jim.
Oh, you got so. But yeah, I've had a great time with this. I hope you have too, Chris.
Oh yeah,
thanks for coming on. I look forward to doing more of these. Thanks everybody for watching. I guess we'll go ahead and do our kind of closing right now, because I don't see any questions coming across the board. But again, as always, please feel free to leave questions in the comment section wherever you're watching, and one of us will see it. We'll make note of it and try to do that for the next episode. But above all else, from Rotoboss to Thunder and whoever you support, we all greatly appreciate the support that you give us, because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So please like, subscribe, share, whatever you want to do. Ring the bell.
We have
however
no
this works. Ring the bell, all that good stuff. If you want to be abreast of new stuff, we'll keep you posted on new episodes and things like that. And like I said, we're not going to have like a script to go by necessarily, but we will gather information from people on things to talk about, kind of like what we did today, just kind of spitballing things as they come up in conversation. But that's pretty much all I got for now. You got anything, Chris?
No, I mean, if we move on to episode 2, just expect, be confident in what you and what you have to offer,
we just
right?
talked about confidence in your business. Come on. Even though this is not a business, we're not sponsored, we're not paid. This is all our free time because we want to do it.
Because we have
you gotta have confidence.
So much free time.
Yeah, right.
No, I mean it's gonna be something like this where we round table between two people and the chat, and I'm sure we'll have guests on here and there. If you're sensitive to language, if you're sensitive to tough topics, this might not be the place for you, because we're a bunch of dudes shooting the shit for the most part. So it's going to be like this. And if you like listening to that and want some feedback from people that do have some experience, then you're more than welcome to join, and we'll entertain all the questions that you have, and at least our perspective and how we've been successful. So we'll give it a shot.
Alex is offended. That's too bad, Alex.
I just realized I'm offended.
Cry a river, build a bridge, and get over it. No. No, and like you said, we don't mean any disrespect to anybody. I just want to put this out there. I'm not going to put it out in other episodes because hopefully people will watch this, but none of what we say is meant to disrespect or question anybody. Like you said, we're just giving our perspective. So take it for what it is. There may be some foul language here and there if we slip up or whatever. We'll try to keep it PC because we don't want to get kicked off.
Depends on how many whiskeys I have.
Yeah, he's had one more than I have, or probably 2 or 3 more than I have. But yeah, so just bear that in mind. We're gonna keep it as PG as we can, but just be aware that this is kind of not really a no holds barred, because obviously we represent myself, and he represents Thunder at a great capacity. So we're not associating that with any of this that we do.
No, I'm hoping that we're adults. How's that? And people can handle a little bit of sidebar talk and differences of opinion.
Absolutely. So, all right. So we're at an hour and 22. Sorry for going over. I hope everybody enjoyed this. I look forward to doing this again. Like I said, at least once a month. At the most, we'll do it twice a month, but we'll see how things go with the first couple episodes and take it from there. But again, thank you everybody for stopping out, taking a look at what we have, or our thoughts on things. I don't want to show you what we have, but yeah, that's all I got. Sorry, I don't have a big fancy closing thing like some other people. Maybe we'll build that as we go. But yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next episode, probably in February sometime, if not sooner. Check us out, or check Rotoboss out at rotoryattachments.com. Check out Thunder Laser at thunderlaserusa.com. If you have any questions for anything, just let us know. Happy to help you. Hope everybody has a good night, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Have a good weekend, everybody.